Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mnguni Mkonto. Today I want to talk about democracy. Let me say today I want to talk about democracy and self-governing structures. First, maybe let me explain what is democracy. So that we can have a similar understanding as we talk about this issue. Democracy, basically, how they define it, how white people define it, they say democracy is self-governance, meaning it's people governing themselves. Um, First, let me explain what is a government. A government is a structure which has been formed by a human being to administer his affairs and his resources. The governing structures of the EFF, let me get into that. This will be a little bit of a long video because I'm discussing a very serious issue. So the governing structure of the EFF is from top to bottom, meaning they have got a central command team which dictates the decisions of the upper structures are binding on the lower structures. If the decisions of the upper structures are binding on the lower structures, then there's no democracy, because democracy can only be practiced when people are self-governing. When the people on the ground makes decisions and the top structures abide by the decisions of the people. Not when the top structures makes decisions and the people have to abide by the decisions of the top structures. That one is called dictatorship. So EFF way of governance, it's going to produce a dictatorship kind of government. They like giving an example of Chinese success. They like giving that example that China it's a dictatorship, but China is successful. China is a dictatorship. China may be successful, but let's look at the Chinese people, whether they feel whether they are free to run their own affairs, whether their family structures are autonomous. And you will find that basically, even though the government of China may be successful in terms of gathering wealth, but the people on the ground, the Chinese people themselves, are not free to talk, are not free to make decisions on their own. Decisions are made by the government. So when President Zuma says the government will go back to the kingdoms, it does not mean that the government will start to will be under dictatorship. What it means is the people shall govern on the village level. A kingdom on the village level it's where the people are governing. And if in Libya, Gaddafi had street committees. The street committees would make decisions. Let's say that concerns a particular street or a particular stretch or, of a street. They would make decisions. If they want a tar road, they would make a decision that they want a tar road and send the information or the report to the government, and the government would just come and do the road. And if they want a community hall, they would just meet as community members and decide that we want a community hall and send that request to government, and government would just budget and do the community hall. So in that way, the people are self-governing. But when you make the decisions at the top, and all the lower structures have to abide by your decisions, then that decision is called dictatorship. Even if, let's say, you meet, we all know what happens in these conferences where they say the top decision making structure is the conference is the conference of a political organization. But you know how suffocating are those people when it comes to different opinions. They are able to just suppress you in those conferences so that your views cannot be heard, and easily move on with their way of dictating. So there's no democracy. The whole structure is dictated by one person or by the ruling class. So I think even at the moment, what we are having, it's better than what the EFF is proposing. So, but what the MK is proposing, it's even a higher level of democracy, where people are autonomous, are able to make decisions on the ground and send their decisions to the higher structures to be able to effect those decisions, to those who have the money to be able to effect the decisions. But if the decisions are made from the top and they are called binding, then there's no democracy. And if people are not free to speak, it's only one person who is allowed to speak his opinion about the organization, then there's no democracy. Because if I can't speak my opinion about my own organization, then there's no democracy in that organization. So I think people should understand this way of governing before we go and vote on the 29th of May, so that we go and make the right decisions to elect leadership which is going to change things in our favor, not change things in favor of still our colonizers. One form of dictatorship to another form of dictatorship. One form of suffering to another form of suffering. If you say we expropriate land without compensation, From whom are we expropriating the land, and to whom are we expropriating the land to? If we expropriate the land to give to the kingdoms, then we are giving the land to the people. But if we expropriate the land to give to the government, then we are giving it to the mafias. We are not expropriating the land for the sake of the people. We are expropriating the land for the sake of the control. It's just to change the mafias who are controlling the land. Because whose land are we expropriating in the first land, in the first instance? Whose land are we expropriating without compensation? And from whom are we expropriating? And to whom is this land expropriating on behalf? So if we expropriate the land on behalf of the kingdoms, then we are expropriating the land on behalf of the people. The kingdoms are the most democratic structures in the whole world. Kingdoms are the most democratic structures that you can find. I mean, African kingdoms. I'm not talking about the kingdoms that were formed by other cruel people. I mean, kingdoms, African kingdoms were very respectful. So when you expropriate the land back to the people from whom the land was stolen, then that is expropriating of land without compensation, and that is meaningful. But when you expropriate the land to put in control of some few individuals who will implement a dictatorship structure into the governance, then it's a problem. They don't want people to self-govern on the ground level. President Zuma wants people to self-govern. Okay, what are some of the examples of the government interfering in self-governance? When they say parents should not uh, 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 discipline their kids, when they say parents should not discipline their kids, then it's a form of interference in the self-governance of the kingdom, because a family is a kingdom. It should not be disturbed in its affairs. So, ladies and gentlemen, as black people, let us open our eyes and realize the people who are on our side and the people who are on the side of the other people. Let us be responsible enough to make the right decisions about us. Nobody will come from anywhere to come and save us from white people. Nobody will come us to come and will come to us to save us from the dictatorship of the ruling elite. If we as people cannot stand up and save ourselves from all of these people, or the vultures, the predators, the fox, or the snakes that are out there to get us, we're not gonna make it. I thank you for listening. Please subscribe.